Hello, and welcome to Alpha Annual Q&A webinar for November 9th, 2022. I'm Scott Allen. I'm filling in for Dave this week, and I'm joined here with Sarah Mitchell, who has some awesome things to present to us today, hopefully. Although, a little heads up, Sarah has been going through an update on her computer, and she is a little bit worried that maybe midway through the presentation, it might force her to reboot or something like that. We're hoping that doesn't happen. Sarah, are you there?
I am here. Yeah, just set the bar really low today. I'm sorry, folks. I started a Windows update a while ago and it's still running.
Wow.
So,
Well, I am making you the presenter.
okay.
Have at it.
Can you see my screen?
Oh no.
Wait, is it showing? Can you
Yep,
see it?
I do. I see Alpha Anywhere Universal Installer.
Awesome. So I just wanted to talk briefly about a feature we tried to demo last week and it didn't didn't work. And we figured out why. So we'll just show that again. Let's go here. Let's make a new workspace. Just work with something clean here. There we go. Start that up. So we mentioned last week that we had a new release out for Alpha Anywhere. If you go into the available tab here, you can see it's build 8368. It was released on the 17th of October. It's got quite a few things in it. It's something I really wanted to show you guys that was really cool, but it didn't play nicely with us. As controls, if we add a control here, like a text box. Actually, let's go add a button instead. Here we go. Click me. Let's give this guy primary subtheme. Click OK. We've got down here is a new section called local functions, and what this lets you do is define either xBasic or JavaScript that needs to live with the control. So if you create a button that does something like displays a message or calls some routine that you want to say, like, in fact, let's put this in a function. There we go. So we'll do this. Click OK, save this real quick. Pardon me. So if you make this function locally, say hello. This is my #1 typo right there. There we go. Click OK. What this does is you can define functions here. They live with the control, and the list and view box and other more complex controls have had that for a while. But the nice thing about it living with the control is if you copy that code or that control somewhere, the code goes with it. And if you save it in the control library, which is up here under menu, save selected controls in libraries. Let's do that real quick here. Let's give it a name of say hello button. I don't know if we can have spaces in there or not, so let's take them out. All right, we'll save it locally here in the web project for now. But if we just quickly live preview that, yes, start the application server. So we click that, there's our function, it says hello there. If we duplicate this control, if we come down here and we look at JavaScript for the local functions for the new one, there's our JavaScript there. This demo is a bit of a, they're both going to do the same thing. but this isn't necessarily the best demo because what we can do now is if we go to a new UX component, blank one, we can do something. We can come up here to the menu and load a control from the library. So here's our say hello button. And if you look down here in local functions, there's that definition right there. So it's saved with the button. So we live preview this one. We click that, there's our message. So this is really, in the case of saving controls to the library, which is one way that you can create custom controls basically with applications. It really helps keep all that code in one place. Historically, if you've had xBasic or JavaScript associated with a control like that, that was like defined in the xBasic functions section or JavaScript functions, or even in an external file, it wouldn't necessarily be included when you save the control to the library. So that's really the big thing here. With JavaScript, be aware that functions in JavaScript can be overwritten. And it's even more than that. A function, this phrase say hello, you could write it as var say hello equals a function. And this now is a variable. You could say let, you could say const. This is a variable. It can be changed. This happens to be a function in both cases, but they have different implementations. And so if you are loading, if you're putting stuff in the JavaScript, and this probably applies to xBasic as well, you want to make sure to give these names unique to the control. And there's a tip here that you can click on that explains how to do that with this special placeholder. See here, where X can be any number in your code. All right. Oops. So we have a placeholder you can include. I'm wondering if I can insert it. No, doesn't look like it's available there. So there's one PHP. We'll double check real quick here. There we go. Let's just alert that to see what we get. It's possible it's just going to show us that text, but there are provisions in all of this to give these unique names, and it may be something where instead of doing this, you do something like insert the not the component name, but I think there's a way to grab the this controls ID, so button 1. So you can capture that in there. And I think we talk about this a bit too in our working with JavaScript. So I'll go pull that up in doc real quickly here. Let's see here. Thank you for your patience too. Here we go. We have this article. It's called Extending Dialog Object. The dialog component has provisions for storing functions within the component's namespace itself using this underscore functions. Let me see here. Yes, underscore functions is something that we consider best practice for storing a function. So you could do something like this here instead of doing that. And there's a bunch of different ways you can do this. Let's make this say hello. And we'll just simplify this. So that's our function name. If we go back to our click event, we can now do this. Assuming all goes to plan. And click that. And so the nice thing about that is that this say hello function is defined within this component. So if I go and add this to another component, it has its own version defined within the dialog object functions. Functions is something we provide. You will find there are a couple of functions already in it. Be sure not to overwrite those because they are used for other things. But this is something you can use yourself to add JavaScript to your component and ensure that the function name you give it won't conflict with other components that you may embed in your application. So I'm hoping that that is a helpful tip. And if I pull up the release notes here real quick. There we go. Can share that with everyone as well. This is where you can find all the information on the last couple of releases that we've had. We had 2 back-to-back basically. We had the one on the 17th and the one on the 11th, and really a key reason for this second one was that we had these issues in the grid and we wanted to make sure those are out there and fixed. But you can go in here and look through that. If anybody has any questions about these features, now is a great time to ask them. Here is some more information on making those local functions with the xBasic and the JavaScript, a few examples here. So definitely, yeah, look through it. Beyond that, I think today we can save this. Save this one too. You might want to take a peek at some of the stuff that's actually in the nightly build right now, because I believe we want to put another update out soon. No, that's since the release. So let's go look at pre-release. There's probably not too much in here right now. It's pretty small. But some stuff is coming. We've got some linked reports coming down where you can link a report to a parent report. This one's really new. I haven't had a chance to dig into that yet. But if you've got linked reports in your apps or you want to build them, there's some new options there. It's to collapse the white space if you have linked reports and you don't render them. Some new dynamic panel stuff. If you've got a dynamic panel being something that's added to a list navigator, you can dynamically add new panels to that as like opening a UX in a panel, as this example. And there's a new option to reuse a dynamic panel if it's already there. So we could go take a peek at how you would build out a component that actually has dynamic panels in it. Let's do that. The other thing is something that some people may not be aware of. So let's start with the new UX and add a panel. Panel Navigator. And let's add one panel card to it. And we'll put in some buttons. Just do one button, say new panel. And so now we can add an action like open UX. Let's look at open UX. We only have the 2 that we just made in this project, so there'll only be 2 to pick from, but let's pick our local functions demo there. And I think reuse is down. Oh, we have to change this first, the target. So it's initially, it's always going to default to a window. So it displays the UX in a pop-up window. But one of the options is panel and then also dynamic panel. And if you pick dynamic panel, it asks you where you want to add that panel. And since we have the panel navigator here, it has to be a panel navigator. Here's where we can pick that. And then you have to give it 2 pieces of information. You have to give it a title, which can be dynamically defined with JavaScript. Oh, you don't have to give it a class, but you can optionally give it a class. I saw these 2 things and thought they were both needed. The title though is critical because it's going to be shown in the panel navigator when it's open. So let's give this one my panel. We'll set focus to it so it's shown right away. We'll say you can close it. And when cache component is shown, sure, we'll accept all those defaults there. And instead of having a carousel, let's make this a tab band, I think is the one we want. And we'll give this guy a better display name for the panel so it is doesn't say panel card 1 but home. So we click new panel. Notice we've now got my panel and these were the 2 buttons that we added to it. So you can swap between them. So that's really nice. I believe it opens it if it already exists instead of making a new one. Oh, I apologize for that noise just now. So with this one, looks like this one's specifically associated with editing a record, but you'll be able to reuse that panel instead of having to make a new one for every new record. The bonus being that if you turn it off, you can create multiple new panels. Let's actually show that real quick. So we'll need 2 things. Let's take advantage of this guy here. Host child. All right. So we have 3 templates that show how to do a master detail application where you have a list that's like your contact records and then 2 child components that are opened using action JavaScript to show information for those. And you can find them under this host, mobile app host, child, UX, and UX to multiple things. So let's add those real quick. We'll call this one main. I'm going to go through this quickly as I can. We'll call this payments. Though I think I actually have to give it a different name. Let's go to important prerequisites here. Let's just run it and see what errors we get. So we need customers with multiple children, connection strings. Let's go build that real quick. Which we will copy that and we will build a connection string here. Let's use, I don't think we have any available. So let's close that. We might have to get out of this real quick and go to here to build the first one. Because we don't have any connection strings at all, we can't get to this screen. And what I want to do is add the Northwind demo here and just edit it and rename it to customers with multiple children. So I believe this should be okay. Yes. All right, so that's set up. Could not get table property for customers. Okay. There we go. Okay. So that should load. So there's our customers. If we edit it, it shows us this screen. We cancel. If we go to orders, it's going to give us an error because we don't have a component called hosted orders. So let's go and also look at payments real quick too. So hosted payments is that we actually need to name this guy. So let's save this as something else. Hosted payments. And let's open this payments up real quick. And we do not have a payment, so let's just call this one products instead. Or not products, sorry. This one was payments. Let's skip this one. Let's just look at the other one instead. I suspect that we have to add a specific database to the system here. But we know orders, or order ID, customer ID, employee ID, order date. So we can work with this one for sure. So let's just make sure that's orders, click OK, and then open this up real quick to make sure that's all right. And this will all work now by remapping that. And if we save this one as hosted orders, which is what that other screen wanted, this should open it up. Oh, we'll have to save it and live preview it again. We'll turn off mobile. So if we have to first pick a customer. We go orders. It opens up those orders for that customer. So now if this panel navigator was instead set up as a tab band, and for fun, we can change the sub theme on this one to use the flared tabs. We'll save that. And then that button that we've been clicking was in the footer. So let's go look in the control bar. And look at the items. Orders on click is the action that gets called. Orders on click is a control bar action. Orders on click this. Let's instead modify this. Ah, open orders, open payments. Hold on. Where is control bar action? Control bar action, orders on click this. That looks like JavaScript. Do we have that defined in this object? We do not. We have a menu. Orders, payments, button 1, button 2. Ah, okay. Where is the menu definition here? It's a disclosure. We'll find it. Orders, payments. These are placeholders. Let's look at placeholders. Nope. Ah, orders and payments. Which calls orders on click. All right, so I was in the right place. Which calls control bar action. Ah, here we go. It's defined in the UX component. So control bar action passes in the action that got clicked, and so this one will run the action open orders. All right. So if we go to action JavaScript, create edit, and we go and we edit open orders, it calls open a UX. Set focus to dynamic panel. This is where we want it here. Orders. Okay. Okay. Save that. And then one more thing we're going to do is we will copy this. Copy controls to clipboard. Make a new UX component. Paste those here. Oh dear, I clicked the wrong button. All right, let's try that again. Copy. Paste. There we go. Main detail. Back in here, we had that edit button. So let's go real quick and see what edit does. It calls edit on click, which calls the JavaScript at this level here. So what does edit on click do? It sets the panel card edit active. All right. So instead of doing all of that, let's comment that out. Looks like we don't have a quick comment here, so we have to do it like this. And then we'll add a new action. Edit customer. And define it. UX. Open a UX to edit the current record in list control. Edit an existing record. List control ID is customers. The UX that we're going to edit with is main detail. Okay. We're going to open it on a dynamic panel. Panel Navigator 1, and we'll just say edit customer. We're not going to get too fancy with that. And we'll have reuse turned on for now. And then we are going to click to see the JavaScript to invoke this action, copy that, close this, click OK, paste it here. Save all of this. And then live preview it. And hopefully everyone's following along. So there's our panel card edit that was made. But now if we go over here and we click orders, oh, sorry, we got to click a customer first. Then we can select orders. There's our orders opening up in a tab, right? For that customer. Now if we click edit, it opens edit customer and we get an error because we didn't set up data binding for this. But effectively, if that is checked and you click edit, it's going to keep using the same tab. Whereas if we went in here and had this set up, in fact, we don't have to go in there to fix this. Let's go over here to JavaScript actions. This is another place you can go to edit this thing, and we edit this action and turn that off. Click OK. Now we click edit. We go back here and we pick blouse, for example. It made a second tab. So this now, had we gone in and finished configuring all the data binding properties, would give us two different tabs to look at the customer records. This is something I think is quite easy to do with the grid, but was kind of lacking in the UX components. So now this is available coming up in the next release. And the rest of it's just related to tidying up reports and making them easier to handle things like missing images and relative image names. So I think that covers everything what's coming up in the next release. I know it's a bit short, and that does follow pretty closely after the release we just had. But I thought I'd put that on everybody's radar that that's happening. So I'd like to turn it over to questions at this point. I don't see a lot yet, so if you have questions, go ahead and ask them now. Thank you for the feedback. Someone asked if there's a way to not select a row, but do you mean not require that they have to select a row to click on that edit button? Wait for clarification on that.
View boxes?
Oh, viewbox question.
Hmm.
Oh, I see. Oh. Oh, so the question is, what do you need to do? So someone's using view boxes. I'm guessing to edit data, but they want to know what they need to do to save the data to SQL. You need to implement a save button and then write the data to SQL yourself is what you need to do there. A view box is, oh, let's pull this up. Actually, we don't have to do it here. We can do it in here. Let's add a view box. So a view box is a really basic control. I think of it as like a freeform control. And if you are not familiar with that one, freeform layout control is a really basic control. It's just some HTML. So we open the HTML editor. It gives you a slightly better idea of what you're working with here. I think this one is HTML as well. Yes, it is. Let's just do things like add some text, and if you have them, let's add a bunch of text boxes. Let's populate from a table. Products. We don't work with products enough. No data binding information, please. All right. So with the freeform control, if you have like a whole bunch of text boxes and stuff in here, and they are hidden, so you've come over here and you've checked hide, or you've selected them all and you've I thought there was a way to show hide up here. I must be remembering wrong. So let's copy that. Paste properties. Here, set property. So these are all hidden. They're not going to show up. So if you've got hidden controls like that, it lets you use the freeform guy here to insert them like this in some sort of like custom layout, right? Let's see, unit price. So if we live preview that, there'll be like 3 text boxes and then a view box control up here that doesn't have anything in it, right? So that freeform control lets you do that kind of layout pretty easily. The view box is similar. It works off of a data source, which can just be HTML, but it can also be a bunch of other things. It can be populated from a list, from a database query, from a REST API, or some other custom data source. At its core, though, this is just a thing for displaying data. If you're using this to edit data and then want to save that back to your database, you have to implement all of that yourself, which isn't low code, and it's not necessarily straightforward of what you need to do there. If that's something you want to do, I strongly recommend you consider using the list first, either as the data source for your view box or as your view box, basically, because that's going to have all the built-in CRUD operations to get your data back to your database. Otherwise, you are on your own for reading the data out of the view box, which the view box has a way to get its values out. They're available in Action JavaScript, and it's going to potentially come back as JSON, and then it's on you to send that to the server and save it. So I hope that it's not it doesn't solve your problem, because you still have to figure out how to do that. But there is exit without saving, yes. On the server side, if you submit information back to the server, the first thing that runs is, or the last thing that runs is after dialog validate. And this is often the place where you can add an xBasic to do all the saving. And there is action script in here to save submitted data to tables if you have set up data binding. There are also some JavaScript side things. Let's add a new action. Edit the action. So there's I think it's unbound. So there's populate controls in an unbound UX component, which means that data binding has not been set up for it. And there's also update, insert, and delete data for use with an unbound component. So if you go look at that, this asks you about the connection string, the table name. It asks about field mapping and all that stuff. This may be something that you can use to do that saving. So I'm just going to look through the other questions we have here. Someone said they are getting an installer. If you are having problems with the universal installer, we strongly recommend, encourage, and ask that you immediately report that to us. We will want the universal installer log, which there's a documentation article on how to find that if it's something you cannot access directly from the installer. And I'm going to paste that in the chat here. We need that information sent to us. The how to submit a bug report for the installer explains it. I see here this person is having issues with their Virus detection software flagging something in the installer. We need to know about that. Otherwise, we cannot address it. So the sooner you can send that to us, the better. So, okay, I understand the second question that was asking about selected row by default. I believe, yes, you can, no, let's not save our changes here. Let's just close out of that. In the viewbox properties, I believe, we double click and open that on the properties here, there's a setting called allow null selection. If you want to be able to select nothing, so like the viewbox has no value, you need to turn that on. And you can do that by checking this. And there's a second option to allow deselect. So I'm not seeing very many more questions. There's a late crowd today.
There was a little question about your DevCon presentation.
Yeah, life gets in the way. Unfortunately, it's taken a lot longer for me to get over my cough than I would like, and there's been a lot of stuff too I need to take care of. But we are working on it. We are trying to get those out as fast as possible. So there's a new question here. Someone asking about drop downs. I think they are asking if they can preload the dates list. Is it possible to preload a drop-down list in a text box that's been configured as a lookup edit combo, where it's being dynamically populated from a column in a database table first? Can you preload it? Ooh. Exit without saving this one. Can you preload a dropdown? So we'll get an explanation on this. I'm gonna delete all this stuff. Start from scratch here. So let's add a dropdown box, a text box actually, that's an edit combo. Okay. So text boxes have a ton of configuration options in them, including the ability to tell them that they're a lookup, meaning that the choices are probably confined to a small set of information. And there are several types in here available. Grid component, meaning you open a grid component, which might have some search features to pick your option. An auto suggest list, which suggests options as you type. The one that's being asked about is the edit combo, which is like a drop-down box, but it's a text box. And then the last one is cascading list, which was added in the recent release, which behaves a lot like a menu with sub-menu options. So they're asking about edit combo, and it sounds like their lookup definition has been defined dynamically. They want to know if you can preload that list. Yes and no. So if you want to stick with this tradition here of it's being dynamic, and you're loading it from a database here, and you're picking all of the options from a specific table, and we'll edit this real quick. We'll display the product name. There we go. And we'll return the product ID. Stored value is different than displayed value, product ID. So this, if it's set up like this, to go against the alpha-DIO connection and pull the data out of a database, that's always going to take a hit. It's always going to go to the server and look that stuff up. User must be checked. Okay, that's fine. That was just telling me because I said that was looking at from a database that traces had to be selected from the list. So that's our list of options. That's the stored value. but 9 is actually this. So this one against the database, if my database is located somewhere like halfway around the globe, that would have been very slow to populate. So can you populate it? Can you speed this up? Preload. I don't believe there's an option here. However, that doesn't mean you couldn't possibly do it. So something you can always do is have static choices. And what you may want to consider doing instead is look into statically populating your dropdown first and then updating the options later with JavaScript. Which just gives you the option to have some of that stuff like user must select from list, but the drawback being that you now have to add code to get that behavior. And I'm going to quickly check to see if we have an article on that. There we go. We do. I got lucky. So here's an article that talks about how to dynamically populate the choices and edit combo box. Be aware that if you go this route, it's on you to fetch the new values and make sure that they're accurate. You might want to consider using the data cache to do all that work, which can be the client-side data cache, which is up here in menu. Client-side data cache editor. You can use this to generate all the items that you want to display, and there's more JavaScript that you can call to fetch it. The nice thing about that is if you, I need to name this first. Edit the item. So our item type's a SQL query here. No arguments, sorry. Customers with multiple children against the products database that we had earlier, and the fields that we need out of that are the product ID and the product name, because we want to display the product name, but we want to select the product ID, so on and so forth. You can delay query until explicitly refreshed or read. Might speed up loading times for you. But if you have this set up in here, it will be available offline, which we explain how you can do that down here. So click all that. Okay, and I'm just gonna add a button. Data cache. So we double click this to open up the on-click event, and we add new action. And we search for data cache, client-side data cache actions right here. There's a whole bunch in here for you already. Refresh the data items, read the data. If you pick read data, it asks you which item you want to read. And then you can call these on success, on fail, what happens if the device is online, kind of stuff to handle all of that. And you can, use action JavaScript to build this up and then call that using JavaScript actions. If you wanted to put this code somewhere that isn't like a button that has a click event. So hopefully that'll give you some ideas. And it looks like someone else has pointed out there is another way you can do this. And that would be, if we go down here, back to our edit combo list, there's this other option, variable, which populates the choices from a variable, which is set up in the server-side events, usually on dialog initialize, that you can populate. But again, if you need to refresh it, you'll have to update it somehow through a callback.
Seems to be running low on questions at this point, huh?
I know, yeah.
Well, I'll take this moment to remind everyone if they have questions in the future, on any day of the week, please send them into guides@alphasoftware.com, and we'll get back to you with an answer as best we can. Any other things?
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right. In terms of scheduling, we have a webinar next week, but we do not have a webinar the week of Thanksgiving. That is in 2 weeks, I think. Is that 2 weeks? Oh my gosh. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So we have a webinar on the 16th, no webinar on the 23rd, and then we'll be back on the 30th. So keep that in mind. If you don't get a notice the week of Thanksgiving about a webinar that week, it's because there isn't one. And if you do get one, we messed up on our end and accidentally sent out a message about something that isn't going to happen.
Right. And next week, in fact, it will just be me and Steve Wood from IADN.
Yes, we have a guest speaker next week.
Yep. So some of you may be familiar with Steve Wood. He's talked a lot about alpha products over the years, and he'll be giving us some of his insights, and I will be there to MC that. Dave and Sarah will not be with us that day, so it'll just be me and Steve.
Yes. I guess we can wrap it up now then if there's no other questions. We should probably wrap it up. Thank you everybody for coming. We're glad you can join us. I'm glad Windows Update didn't reboot, but it does want me to reboot. It wants me to reboot right now, actually.
We know what you'll be doing next.
Yes.
All right.
Word of the wise, be careful when you install Windows updates this week.
Okay then, so I guess we'll be seeing you next week with myself and Steve Wood. Otherwise, we'll be seeing you toward the end of the month. Hope to talk to you all soon. Thanks for coming out this week to our webinar. Talk to you soon.
Thanks. Bye.